Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're not going over a meta report. Shocking. I mean, there's going to be a meta report for this afterwards. I'm probably going to record it literally right after this video. But people wanted to ask, I asked people on YouTube and Twitter, and people said they wanted more story times. And I was trying to figure out, what does that exactly mean? I did a story time about Ascent Chicago. I'm going to have a story time probably about Ascent Toronto. I'm not going to have it for Singapore because $3,000 is too much for me to go to Singapore this month. Way too much. I can't afford it. But I figured I'll do something a little bit different. I'll do a little bit of a story time based off of the Yeti event that happened this weekend. Yeti Online Regionals happened. I participated in it, ended up getting 12th place, spoiler alert. And then, yeah. So I'm going to break down a little bit how that event went for me, the matchups we played, a little bit how the gameplay sort of went, and see if this is what people want for story times. Make sure you comment below if this is what you're looking for. When you voted that you wanted more story times, somehow it was the most voted content out of deck techs and more breakdown reports or other content was like 50% people wanted story times. So we're going to do story time breakdowns and go over what that means and sort of how the whole Yeti event went. But with that being said, on Sunday, which was August 25th, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, August 25th, we had Yeti Online Regionals number 2, Electric Boogaloo. It was the second Yeti Online Regionals. This is the first one post Ascent Chicago ban list. And we decided, I mean, honestly, going up to the event, I was so torn on what to play. I had Slimes built, I had Wind Tristan built, I had Rye still built, I was debating Wind Allies the night before. And literally, I was like, all up to this week, all the week prior leading up to, I'm like, I'm just going to play Slimes. Slimes is the best deck in format. I'm just going to go ahead and play Slimes. And it came into Saturday night. I'm literally sitting in the Oxygen group chat. And people were talking about, I'm going to just play Wind Allies. I hate Slimes. I'm just going to play Wind Allies. Sometimes I'm like, God, everyone's playing Wind Allies. I don't want to play Slimes. I was like, I was really debating just playing Fire Merlin. But I'm like, I don't, because I had about like 10 different people message me going, oh yeah, bring Wind Allies. I'm like, geez, there's going to be a lot of Wind Allies. Do I just play hybrid Fire Merlin and just blow them out the water? But looking into my teammate chats, I'm like, I really don't want to do it to the team. So I'm not going to go run Fire Merlin. Instead, I decided to go ahead and build Wind Tristan. I already had it built. It's probably my second most rep deck built outside of Rye for the season. And then going over the meta report I had for Reaper and Texas, I don't think I made a Texas video. I did make a Florida one though. And sorry, Reaper and Haven. I made a video for one, but not the other. I saw TCG Terry ended up bringing Wind Tristan, but repeat Beseech the Wind. I was like, cool. I like Beseech the Wind. Expecting a lot of Wind Allies. They're really good if expecting a lot of Stifling Traps because it gets around Stifling Trap. And there's a lot of good things I could do with cards like Beseech the Wind. I can get out Assassin's Ripper. I can get out a couple different combo pieces if I want to later on in these games. So I'm like, cool. I like this list. I messaged Terry. I'm like, Terry, how are you going with Wind Tristan? It's like, yeah, I like Beseech the Wind. Couple good matchups in, dead for the rest. You know, normal, but it's good for those certain matchups, like really good. So I said, all right, we're going to build it. Built it the night before, literally sleeved it up like 11 o'clock on the night before on that Saturday. And I said, all right, we're just going to run it, see what we could do. Go to the event, Yeti Online comes on, pay my dues, put the webcam down, got a glass of water, sat down and settled in. And I said, all right, we're going to change my mentality for this event. I usually keep too much of an eye on the record, eye on the event, what's going on. And I just said, no, man, we're not doing that to myself. I went into this very calm. I said, all right, every game, we're treating this as 0-0. Meaning I have no wins, no losses. We're treating as fresh game one, a game archive. And I'm just going to go YOLO this event. And on top of it, we said we're changing the mentality. Instead of playing safe, which is my usual play style. So I play Rye, I play control decks. I like playing a safer game style before I can combo. I hit the point where I said, meh, we're just going to YOLO it. Dice roll. They have it. They don't. So we decided to go ahead and just play. I'm just going to roll it, and you have response. Sure, if you don't, you don't. So game one comes around, and I go sit down my opponent, and they step up a Spear One. I'm like, all right, sweet, maybe Allies. And they go like Wind Engineer combo, and they show me like a Stifling Trap and a Dream Fairy, and I was like, oh, this is the mirror matchup. I got round one mirror matchup on Wind Tristan. Sure. So I go ahead, open up my hand. I have a Slice Nice hand. I have, I think, a Krazi Outlook. And I think that's Fairy Whisper or Surveillance. It's my guy, not a bad opening. I could Slice and Dice combo turn early if I go in and set this up a little bit properly and get some good games going in. And game one was very back and forth. We both ended up hitting level 3. Opponent tried to level 3 me with Slice and Dice. I was able to get out of it with, I think, a Veiling Breeze or something of the sorts. Yeah, I think a Veiling Breeze kept me alive in that situation until I was able to combo off my game one with a Shadow Strike with a lot of prep counters, resolving Quasi Outlook. Because I think the game one I was able to go in the same turn, I was able to Quasi Outlook, Dungeon Guide, Shadow Strike, huge prep counter, lethal. Because I'd come in getting a lot of good free swings in with Sadie, a lot of good swings go ahead and bump up the damage a little bit, getting some swings in with Black Market Broker, and just like my opponent was taking a lot of chip damage, so I made the Shadow Strike needed to be a lot less damage to going for lethal. And he's like, yeah, I don't got a response, you get there. I said, sweet. That's game one. All right, we're doing good. Going to game two. Shuffle up. Good slice and dice hand. Super good slice, like super good early interaction early on. Like a lot of good ways to get prep counters and then go off into, say, slice and dice for a lot of turn. My opponent took a couple turns off and he ran into a very weird situation, and I apologize to my opponent for this. This was just bad beats. I mean, I ended up playing Quasi Outlook. Opponent said, sure. And then they said, oh, do you want to... Actually, let me think. I'm thinking of a different game, so I'm not thinking of a different game. But I was able to slice and dice combo for lethal. My opponent misremembered, I think, the cost of slice and dice for being for 3 instead of 2, so they interacted with the Quasi Outlook trigger incorrectly, and then I was able to slice and dice for lethal because they misremembered the reserve cost. And that's sweet. Going to the event, game one, round one with a victory, sit down, grab a new glass of water, relax, put on some anime for a little bit, because the great part about these home event tournaments is that you can go ahead and just relax. I literally put on some anime, shut down the mind. I said, all right, chilling, we're going to go into this, like I said, round one again, pretty much. I'm going to keep on shooting it. And we get into our next opponent, and I apologize, I'm not going to remember names. I would love to remember names, but I don't want to also flame anyone accidentally, because please don't know this is for flaming, it's just pure what happened. Face normal Silvies and normal slime, and just blew it out the water. Just game one, slice and dice combo. Game two, Shadow Strike. It was just like brutal. It was a brutal game for slime. Slimes didn't have the answer. They also had a very hard interaction in game two, where game two I played it through a magistrate in my sideboard. I put it in the main. I was able to resolve it and keep it alive with an imbue counter on it, and my opponent, and not really me realizing until the turn before, when my opponent tried to Ethereal Slime, I said, hold up, I don't think you can banish with Ethereal Slime. He's like, it says you can't remove cards from your material deck. He's like, yes, I'm like, yeah, but before I give you a misruling, I don't want to get someone on a technicality or something like that. I don't want to have a judge call coming out, like make a judge call myself, and then be wrong about it. I want to actually speak to a judge about the call. I also just realized my light's a little off. I do apologize for that. Hopefully I didn't change much with lighting. And I said, all right, let's speak to a judge here. Let's get a judge. Make sure this is the exact one where you don't get to draw a card, because you don't get to banish a card because of you can't move cards from your material deck when it's not your materialization phase. And they said, all right, yeah, well, let's call a judge and make sure 100%. And that isn't the case. I went on 2 cards in hand and Ethereal Slime on the board. Like, oh, I can't draw a card. I'm down to 2 cards in hand. Rough. And it ended up being able to get me the game to stabilize through a couple of Veiling Breezes and just stabilize the entire game and then just get in for lethal. It was just like super beneficial for me. And I ended up winning game 2, 2-0. This whole event was two games. I never went to a game, or I went to a couple game 3s, but never finished them. But I ended up winning that game, and I said, sweet, beat Slimes, probably one of the worst matchups I was fearing in this entire event. Let's go on to round number 3. Round number 3, we get paired up into Water Silvie. Now this list was spicy. This list, we'll talk about this in come game 2. Game 1, once again, was able to slice and dice combo my opponent. There's a miscalculation on cards, I think, and I was able to slice and dice them for lethal. Just more, once again, reserve costs, messing up on the opponent's side. So then game 2 comes. My opponent tries to go ahead and set up. They end up going level 3 Silvie. I think it's Earth Tune or Wind Tune. I'm going to put it up on the screen here at some point. But Silvie, that lets you go ahead and filter the top of your deck for another beast card. And they end up pulling the Crawl. I was like, hold up. They're Crawl. I didn't see an Avatar Gaia. I didn't see any way to cheat out this Crawl easily, but I did see him a guy's grace. I'm like, what is the game plan here? It was super spicy. Thankfully, next turn I was able to skill my opponent through a big Shadow Strike. I was able to literally go Quasi Outlook, resolve. Response to Quasi Outlook, remove a counter, activate ability. Okay. Dungeon Guide. Okay. Shadow Strike for lethal. Like, oh, yeah, we got there. This is one of those games that we just happened to get there. And I was like, all right, I asked my opponent after, I'm like, what's the spice in this list? Like, this list seems spicy. What is it? He's like, yeah, so the whole point is that we're going to get Crawl out, but we get it out because there aren't enough preserve cards in this deck with Hammer Guy's Grace. So we get Seed of Nature on the field through materialization phase, get the +2 level, go up to level 5, then cheat out Crawl, and Crawl resolves on the field. I go, oh, okay, that's a card. That is a spicy deck. I can see why my opponent was 2-0 leading up there, and now 2-1. But I mean, I see why they made it so far in the event. I don't know how they finished afterwards. I wish, I said, I don't want to give out names or anything. I don't want to say anything like that. But it was like a super spicy matchup, and it was super cool to see. In the round number 4, we get the feature match. So the feature match means that we get to go on the stream of Serene Balance Production. Shout out to Yeti, Once in Love, and the casters that we're running with Andy and Mitch over there on the YouTube channel. And we end up getting matched up into a good friend Steve, or Steve-O. I say Steve-O because it's Steve-O, and then it's just stuck. And they were playing Erupting, and I go, okay, cool, Erupting. And I literally hit in this mindset, as I said before, I just went for it. I said, sure, I'm going to go ahead and try and slice nice combo you in this game 1. Show me the Resolute. We have the Resolute, I lose. I'm like, buying an extra turn isn't going to get me anything because I don't have anything to keep me alive through the next turn. And like, Resolute. I'm like, okay, cool, game 2. Now, the thing is, I had the Nullify Lantern in my sideboard. But again, in my mindset, I know with Erupting, like, they're running Reduced to Ashes, they're drawing a lot of cards, like, taking a turn off the Nullify Lantern is pretty much just a death sentence. And again, it's just going to be something I force my opponent to have it, and if they don't have it, I win. And game 2 came, and once again, I tried to do a combo, and they had enough to keep themselves alive. And they said, okay, and combo you. I was like, yep, you get there. It's like, you could have Veiling Breeze, maybe buy an extra. I'm like, yeah, but an extra turn doesn't get me anything in this matchup. An extra turn doesn't keep me alive long enough. So I only had like 3 win cards in my entire memory of like 10 cards with a Veiling Breeze. So it wasn't going to be enough to keep me through 2 extra turns. And I said, all right, it is what it is. You know what I mean? The game, we took our first loss. Loss or 2. We are now 3-1 on the event going into round number 5. And we decided to, once again, mentally reset, put on some YouTube videos, grab a water, and go ahead into round number 5, where we go ahead and face Fire Merlin. And now Fire Merlin is an interesting matchup for Tristan. Fire Merlin can really blow you out the water, because they can Spirit Blade Ascension loop you, get a lot of cards out of your memory, and pretty much punish you for playing too greedy. In this case, my opponent did get a Spirit Blade Ascension loop out, but because it's Merlin, I've had so much rep against this matchup, I just kept cards down that weren't wind. I had like a Mastermind Scheme, an Incap, and like a Shadow Strike in my memory the entire game. You know, like Spirit Blade Ascension. I go, no wind. I go, oh damn, okay. I don't have any wind myself, that's a fire. Deal 3. So like, okay, good. And then I play a card and like a Fire Burst, and I search, pick a card. Like, all right, now I'm going to Spirit Blade Ascension. Again, no wind. Like, alrighty. So I start the winds, draw, recollect, and do anything. I put some cards down to play another combo piece, so like a Dungeon Guide. And I go, okay, Spirit Blade Ascension. I'm like, still no wind. Like, what, man? I'm like, yeah, I don't got any wind. I don't got any wind to show you this game. I'm not letting you banish anything. And I was just able to Shadow Strike later on in that game for lethal. I was able to actually do a weird interaction where I went Shadow Reaver, I think it is, the one that lets me banish the top 4 cards at the top of my opponent's deck. I was able to banish my opponent's Dungeon Guide, Fireball, I think Exercise Curses, not Exercise Curses, Cremation Ritual, and like Creative Shock. So I was able to just banish one of their fireballs away. They didn't have enough. They didn't have another fireball yet. I Creative Shock, filtered some more cards out. Was Shadow Dance for a couple turns, and then my turn I was able to go into my Dungeon Guide to then go to level 3. Into my other level 3, draw 2 cards, which is lethal for the turn. And then the game number 2 was just another slice and dice fast game. I just sliced and dice comboed my opponent out nice and quickly. They took the greedy line and didn't level up in time. And Black Murder was still in the field. I was just getting a lot of chip damage in, and then just slice and dice for lethal. But shout out to my opponent on that. Next, we played Fire Lorraine aggro, and pretty much that matchup went, it's almost like Erupting, but a little bit worse. Because that game I did bring in Nullify Lantern because it's not Erupting at that point. And game 1, I slice and dice comboed. And game 2, I slice and dice comboed again because they're not usually doing anything too greedy. They're mostly staying level 1, maybe level 2. And game 2, I was able to pull out a Nullify Lantern to shut off the entire thing. They didn't have to reduce the ash or anything like that to deal with the board state. Where I was able to just get a couple more chips damage and then combo out for lethal. I'm pretty sure one of the games, was that game? No, it's next round. But pretty much how that entire game ended up working out. Into round number 7. Round number 7, we end up having the mirror again. I lost game 1 pretty badly. Not much to say. I just didn't have anything. My hand was like double incap, double mastermind scheme. Like I just didn't have anything to do later on in the game and just sort of ended up losing it. Game 2 came. I ended up going Shadow Dancer or whatever the banished top 4 went again to go ahead and get the top 4. This is pretty much what this card is brought in for, is this exact matchup, is that we were able to deal with our opponent who's also Assassin and use their cards and utilize it. Where I was able to take their cards, the outlook, utilize the cards, the outlook, get some lethal swings in with, I was pretty much being the ally deck at that point. I just kept on getting a lot of chip damage in with lots of allies on the board. Actually, what game is, that might have been one of the Fire Lorraine games actually. One of the games I was pretty much just went ally wide. I had like double Dream Fairy, Sadie, like I just went ally wide on the deck. But then versus the mirror, I was able to take my opponent's Krahazi outlook. Or I was able to end turn, sorry, I'm trying to think. End of my turn, I was able to Zephyr my Dungeon Guide, flip back over, draw 2 cards, and get my shadows. Stabilize. Then my opponent's turn, I was able to cast their Krahazi outlook to put 2 down to then go ahead and get the banishment, and then with the banishment being able to then combo off and then beat my opponent with that. Like I said, one of the upsides of that Tristan, that you're able to go ahead and just banish cards, and play cards are the pretty utilization for you because it's pretty much your exact deck in the mirror matchup. And we ended up going into game 3 in that one, and game 3 came around and we're like, we have like 4 minutes left. They're like, yeah, we're not going to finish this. So we ended up drawing that. So now I'm 5-1 and 2. We're in the round 8. I'm like, all right, weird situation on what's going to happen here. We ended up playing it out, starting to. We ended up going game 1, I lost to Wind Allies at the combo. Game 2, my opponent sadly ended up disconnecting for too long, and we ended up, my opponent with a disconnect, ended up not being able to get the game 2 win. It went to me, and we debated game 3. The game ended up being played a little bit, and then it sort of dragged out into a draw where we ended up finishing 5-1 and 2 for both of us, and thankfully it worked out where there's a lot of draws, and the math worked out where we were able to slide in the top cut. I was originally 13th place. But the results took a couple days to finalize. There's a lot of speculation that happened. I'm not going to say if I do or don't know what happened, but usually when the result got finalized, table 9 ended up getting 2 DQs, which ended up going 0-0 drop, which is usually a DQ. And usually DQs don't happen very often in this game. Usually happens for bribery or cheating or something like that. That's what people are speculating happened with the DQ. It could be very well, because like I said, it's very what happens when people get disqualified. It's usually a bribery situation or anything of the sorts. So again, I'm not saying I do or don't know what happened. I'm not making any claims. I just know this is usually what classifies under a disqualification in Grand Archive. So when that ended up happening, the results got finalized, and ended up bumping up from 13th through 12th place and got my first ever Light Reaver's Assault. My first ever prize card actually in Grand Archive. Surprising or not, I might do a lot of these meta videos, but this is my first prize card I've ever won. I don't have it yet because it hasn't shipped. So imagine Light Reaver's Assault here in my hand. Ooh. So I ended up getting my first ever invite card for the game of Grand Archive. Goes on my, I also have a Lurking Assailant, ended up buying from a buddy. So we do have that as well to try and qualify for Nationals this year. But with that being said, everyone, I hope you end up liking this story time. Like I said, some little different, something that's asked for. If this is what you're looking for in the story times, feel free to let me know so I can go ahead and see if this is what you want, and I continue to go in the future. If there's a certain level of events you want me to do story times for, let me know as well. If you want me to do this regionals up, want me to do my store champs or locals, by all means. But that being said, hope everyone likes the video, hope everyone enjoys the content. I like to thank everyone for taking place and putting up with the little delay that we had in content for a little bit. But like I said, I hope everyone has a good one, and I will talk to you all later. Peace.